Okay, for this problem, you're calculating f minus g of x, which is the same thing as saying f of x minus g of x, okay? Now, f of x is x minus 3, so I'll put that here. G of x is x squared minus 9. So I put that there. And you'll notice I put them in parentheses because it's all of f of x minus all of g of x. And since there's a subtraction sign, I am going to have to distribute that. Now technically, in front of the first set of parentheses, there's really just a 1 here. And when you distribute 1 times an x minus 3, you just get x minus 3. Back here, there's a minus invisible 1. So when I distribute the negative 1, I get negative invisible 1x squared, and then a negative times a negative changes it to a plus 9. Now, math books are notorious for skipping steps, and I think that is what happened in Mobius. They want you to factor this. In order to factor it, it should be in simplest form and in descending order. So for descending order, the highest exponent is your x squared. So that should go first. Then the next highest exponent is the x to the first. So that should go next. And then last should be the constant, which would be whatever the negative 3 and the positive 9 is. So I have to combine those. So the negative x squared is first. Since this x has nothing in front of it, it's really a positive x, so put plus here. And then negative 3 and positive 9 would be a positive 6. Now you're going to factor it. And whenever you factor trinomials, the leading term, the very first term, the highest exponent, should be positive. So I think you said you needed to divide out a negative. You actually factor out the negative. You can't divide it and get rid of it. This thing is not set equal to 0. That trick only works when you're solving an equation that's set equal to 0. And this is not. This is set equal to f minus g of x. That's what we're finding. So you factor out a negative 1 is what you're really factoring out. And that's going to change the signs of the negative x squared plus x plus 6. It's going to be positive x squared minus x minus 6. But that negative invisible 1 is still there, and they'll just write it as a negative sign. And then you factor the trinomial. You are going to factor this into 2 binomials. And when I do this, I simply unfactor it. For the x squared, that came from, or sorry, unfoil it. X squared comes from x times x. And then my last term, which is a negative 6, 1 times 6 is 6, and 2 times 3 is 6. But because it's a negative 6, this right here is a negative 6, it's either going to be a positive 1 times a negative 6, or a negative 6 times a positive 1, a negative 2 times a positive 3, or a positive 2 times a negative 3. And you have to pick the pair that will give you a negative 1x for your middle term. So the correct pair would be this pair right here, positive 2 and negative 3. When you multiply them, they give you negative 6. When you add them, they give you negative 1. And it doesn't matter which one you put first and which one you put second. Excuse me. You can put x minus 3 and then x plus 2. It doesn't really matter. This is the factored answer. Again, you cannot just throw away the negative sign. It's part of the answer. You have to factor out the negative 1. You just don't write the 1. It makes it invisible. So I hope that explains that, and have fun.